Yep. Gary, the mics are on. We're streaming.
Okay. Sound check.
Joe, can you hear me? Good.
Oh, okay.
Joe?
Yeah.
Testing.
Wait. Wait for Tom.
Can settle down.
What's that?
People will settle down.
Yeah, sound good.
Man, I moved that down for a couple times.
I don't know.
I didn't want to turn it on until he came in the room.
Yeah, but seems like he's down. Yeah, right?
We don't like the way it sounds here.
Yeah.
They don't like it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not clear.
Well, I can't do anything about clear.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
I'm only
No,
volume.
I mean, it's, yeah, coach.
Who's that? Fucker's house.
We're all right here. That's what the trucks are.
Alex, who's watching that chicken coop?
You got people.
Ready, gentlemen? Mic's on? Joe, can you hear me? All right. All ready? Yep. All right. Town of Vernon annual meeting of electors come to order on Wednesday, April 18th, 2018, 7 p.m. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chairman Byrd. And order of business will be, we'll follow the agenda as everybody have an agenda here. They were on the table in the back there. And when it gets down to residents' concerns, or if anyone else would like to speak, we have some people here that want to speak. We can use the podium, or if you want to speak from the crowd, please come up and sit at the desk so we can address each other. So, first thing is we'll have the ceremonial swearing in of newly elected officials and brief comments by those officials.
Jeff, I'm going to come to you. Please raise your right hand and say after me.
Hi, Jeff Millings.
Who have been elected on Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 to the office of Supervisor 1, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge these duties to the best of my ability, so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ed, please raise your right hand. I
I, Ed Millings,
who have been elected on Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 to the office of Supervisor 3 will swear I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge said duties to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I've been officially sworn in within the statutory time, but this is a
Ceremony.
Yay. Sorry, that's it, Tom.
I just want to thank everybody who voted for me. You know, this is my fourth term serving the town, and I consider it an honor and a privilege to serve the residents. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, ideas for the town, please contact any one of us or come to a board meeting. We also have time for public comments. We need to hear from you so we can make sure we're on the right track of doing what's best for the town. Thank you.
I'd echo Jeff's comments. I appreciate the opportunity to serve for a second term. I'd like to see more participation. I was a little upset that we didn't get a little more activity during the voting this year, but it is what it is, and I'd like to encourage everybody to get the young people involved in this, get them educated on what's going on in government. It's going to be theirs one day, and they need to learn how to take care of it. So, other than that, I very much appreciate and show great gratitude for what's going on. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I just would like to congratulate both of you and just tell you it's been a pleasure serving with you. I'm looking forward to serving the next year with you, and then we'll see what goes on after that.
Yeah.
All right, legislator comments. We have Mr. Chuck Wiggers here.
Yay. Either right there,
If you
Chuck.
want to take the free mic, or if you want to clip that mic on and talk with it, whatever you want to do.
This one? It's easier?
They're both on.
Well, on this same note, I'd like to congratulate you guys and offer the same, extend the same courtesy that anything you guys need, it's easier to get done when you contact us and get involved with email, phone call. The most fun that I've had in my first term is working with constituent issues. And today, I spent several hours working on constituent issues, DOT, DNR issues, and we had great satisfaction. The constituents were very pleased with the results, and it wouldn't have happened if the legislator wasn't involved with the process. And so it's critical that they call. So the people that don't call, they don't get what they need, they don't get what they want, and they don't get it resolved in a timely fashion. So I extend the same thing. And then legislatively, I think we had a somewhat successful year. There's some issues that we would like to have taken on and accomplished more, and that is healthcare reform, reducing the excessive and duplicative healthcare costs associated with patient care. And over the last couple of days, I've spent 8 hours meeting with different insurance companies and their executives to talk about how we can reduce, for municipal and private companies, the cost of health care for the employers and the employees. And there's multiple layers of issues that really those dots aren't being connected. And you have at 10,000 feet and under, people with complaints and potential solutions, but they're not communicating with people at 100,000 feet. The people in the middle are trying to connect those dots, and they need help. So it's a tug of war in a sense. But those are things that we'd like to, the money and the savings for employers and municipalities would be incredible. Roads, continuing to work with Dave Craig has taken the lead on it and has done a great job at completing a partial audit of the DOT and continuing to get deeper and deeper into the DOT department to find the savings and excessive and duplicative costs, the wasteful spending, and, but we have roads not only here, but in rural areas that are on a, what they call in the rural areas, a 300-year replacement plan. So, they need help, and where's the money coming from? So it's us, the taxpayers. So fighting those reforms and getting relief where it's needed, and then getting what they call the east-west, from the zoo to the Marquette, and getting that road project put back in for a completion to help offset, especially the Foxconn boom that's coming, and the amount of transportation that's going to be increased as a result of that economic stimulus. And so there's a lot of big things. I've communicated with Karen's office. She's been unbelievably responsive and great about communicating, and so I appreciate that. We talked about the violent sexual predator legislation that may or may not help municipalities, so municipalities have to weigh in and help themselves and respond to the challenges that are here, and tell us how to help you better. You know, the capital changes to protect the citizens, and sometimes we don't think it goes far enough. Milwaukee kind of put a monkey wrench in part of the legislation, where instead of the sexual offenders going back to their city, where in the city of Milwaukee can they go where there's not a school or a daycare center, a facility that has elderly and the young in the city of Milwaukee? That's going to be 1,500 feet. So they say they can relocate them somewhere in the county. So somebody from Sussex that's a violent offender can end up here in Big Bend, Vernon. So I don't know if I'm satisfied with that, but there's, you know, constitutional portions of that too. So, and then with Foxconn, development is coming. I think you guys know that. Developers are coming in, and some of them are big firms from East or West Coast, Chicago, and they know what they're doing. And if you don't have a comprehensive plan that is updated, and you can work with your legislative offices when you have crossroads or questions, we can get the answers for you very quickly as to how you guys are going to develop your comprehensive plan and how to protect yourself, because they're coming in and putting businesses, apartment buildings, industry in areas that you didn't want it, but you can't stop it if they meet all the current requirements that you guys have, the ordinances that you guys have. So they can roll right over here legally, and it's happening in other communities. So make sure that your comprehensive plan is updated, and you can use that as a document to help guide progress in the way that you guys would want it, your community would want it. And then zoning, I mean, that's how you control that. And you guys know that, that's at the local level. We can't control that, but we can sure, you know, help protect you guys and what you guys are trying to accomplish. Any questions that you guys have?
I got one. On Foxconn, is there anything in that agreement that prohibits non-U.S. vendors from getting involved in the business down there? I mean, it's come from China. I'd hate to see all the construction work and everything go to Chinese firms and come over here all of a sudden get a foothold. So is there anything that was put into that legislation to protect the U.S. construction trade, so to say, and other trades?
Specifically, I can't answer that there's yes or no. I know that there's international and interstate commerce and federal and international laws, but there are incentive packages to employ and work with vendors and contractors that are local and regional. So U.S., but mostly regional and local is where the incentives are for Foxconn. And if you go to the, I often put the Foxconn.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to that, you can log in on that link, and you can be part of that, so you can get that every, whenever they update it. And you'll see some
I
of those.
just never heard anything on that regarding that, so I was curious. I know how Scott Walker was stopping so hard to help American manufacturers, so I was wondering if they could even legally do something like that, or if they tried to do something along those lines to limit the outside manufacturing from coming in.
Yeah, I don't know if they're able to stop it, but they are sure incentivizing local.
I got a question about insurance, Chuck. It's a big part of our budget, and it's a big part of my own household budget. What is the problem? You said you got different levels and you, like it was a flight plan or whatever. What is the problem in Washington, and why can't the state just do something on its own? Just do it.
Yeah, and I think there are states that are trying to do things, and they are, and there are some successes. And so you asked the question that I spent the last 8 hours talking to 3 different corporations in Wisconsin and their executives, and it was just me and them, and we rolled up the sleeves and we identified that not the specific companies, but the industries, the hospital associations, the insurance associations, the CEOs of these big companies, they're playing at a level that we can't reach. So can the system be rigged in a crisis to help certain segments of corporations or municipalities? And we believe that there is. So how do we stop that? That's at a pretty high level. And then you have, you know, the lower level where you have the satellite businesses that are trying to work within. You know, these insurance companies have to sell their policies to employers. Employers are saying that the largest expense is payroll. Healthcare is catching up. It's almost tied with payroll. They cannot sustain themselves on that path. And it's getting worse before it gets better. So who's benefiting and how? Is it the nonprofits that Mark Belling was talking about the other day, the hospitals that are in a turf war? I don't know. They're the largest employer in the state, but you know, so we have to be beholden to them. We have to be thankful for that. But what's happened to healthcare where the costs are so high? And there's a disincentive, admitted disincentive that they worked on over 20 years ago that they've come full circle and they hit the brick wall. They're disincentivizing families. So the number one concern isn't healthcare, it's employee pool. And everybody agrees that employee pool is number one, and how to get the employees from other companies. And it's by giving healthcare. We give you $15 an hour, it costs you $200 for your healthcare. We pay $10 an hour, but we give you $600 for your healthcare. You're making more at $10 an hour than you are at $15 an hour by not paying for your healthcare. So, but employees will look
But
at that.
eventually, that with inflation and everything like that, I know, you know, we've done that with our full-time people here. We haven't given them much of a raise every year, but we've kept a good health care plan for them. They realize that, but it's getting to the point now where the cost of living is going up. You know, they've got the health care, but this is way down here. We're gonna have to do something this year for our people, you know?
So you have the federal, the challenges at the federal level.
Where does all of the healthcare money go? If you could answer that.
Well, you know, and to finish, one of the biggest problems is that these insurance companies started putting a very high penalty on families, morbidly obese, smokers, diabetes, and they were ranking those very high. And so those people were systematically being channeled out of the companies. And now those who had children were high risk. So they're saying, we can't afford to have you work here. But they can't say that's against the law. But somehow or another, they find ways to hire people. And now there's nobody in the post office, in the nursing, in police work, in manufacturing, in whatever industry, engineering, it doesn't matter the industry, every single teachers, everybody's saying there's nobody to hire. There was a Waukesha County affluent community that had 2 positions open for English teachers, 4 applicants in a really nice part of Waukesha County, a great high school, 4 applicants. There's just not enough people applying for the jobs. And then the people that are applying, they're not trained well enough to enter the workforce and be adequate to replace the people that are leaving. So we created a dichotomy against ourselves that nobody's taking mom and dad's place at Quad Graphics, because you can't afford to hire somebody that has 5 kids. And one of those kids is going to take mom or dad's place. The others are going to become police officers, nurses, doctors, teachers. So we're in big trouble, and we hit the iceberg. And God bless us. Say your night prayers, folks. It's a challenge that you can't fix at 130,000 feet, because they're actively trying to figure out how can they benefit from the crises and win the turf war from the competition.
Excuse me, you said who's actively working on how they can benefit from a crisis? Who?
There's players that are playing at a very high level, and they have to continue to maintain revenues and secure employee pools, and so it's.
I've got a very good rebuttal to some of what you just said, and not, attacking or anything. My wife and I have been very fortunate. We haven't hardly ever used the hospital, but we're almost going broke on drug costs. Yeah. My wife's got pre-existing conditions. Her medications are crazy. If I had to pay for all the stuff I'm taking, the VA wasn't there to help me, it'd be huge. It's been huge over time. The state actually had my wife on a care program for prescriptions. I forget the name, the HIPAA or HISTA or something, and that was quite beneficial. But I keep looking at the fact that you can go to Canada and buy drugs that are made here cheaper than here. That's wrong. You can go to Mexico and buy drugs that are made here cheaper than here. Why can't we get on the drug companies to give the people here the same costs as anybody else? I know they have
You're
R&D.
making the point I just made. Pharmaceuticals have more power here than they do anywhere in the.
Well, we gotta cut their power base out a little bit, because that's what's killing
You
people.
made the point I just made.
Yeah, I think if you talk to most people and what are their big expenses, insurance is it, but then ask the medical company, where's your big expense? And medications are gonna be a good part of that as well. So we're being run by the drug companies right now, and that's not right. And we're not being run fairly. It's supposed to be equitable. It's not when they can sell there for cheaper than they can sell here. So, if you wanna get on a high horse, I'll be happy to.
I'm on it. I
Uh,
can tell you, I spent the last
Thank you.
8 out of the last 30 hours meeting with these insurance companies, asking them, you have to blink, you have to make those decisions, we can't do it for you.
I never heard you mention drugs, that's
How
why.
can the average person
That's-
put
that's what
pressure
you're
at that? You say that higher level to me is they got the big bucks. That's what you're meaning when you're saying higher level. Okay, they got the big money.
Mhm.
How do we put pressure on them when we need what they're selling or trying to sell us?
And it's a great question, and if we had the 4 hours that I had yesterday with one of the.
I'm almost tempted to give it to you.
We can get there, and it's part of my job if you want to get together, so
Thanks.
Good.
you have to utilize your legislators. Don't be afraid to call or email and set the appointments.
Understand.
And Chuck, thank you so much. Just wanted to state, Representative Wiggers is awesome at communicating to the town of Vernon, especially on all the sexual offender issues, property rights, zoning, roads. Chuck, you're doing an outstanding job. Thank you.
And not always, but trying to, and that's why you guys know your issues sometimes way before it'll get to my office. And sometimes I hear about it at the Moose Lodge, and it might be too late. So, there are issues that we're trying to keep you guys updated that you have to address before it's too late. And, in one case, the sexual offender one, unless your ordinances are updated to meet the you know, the new state changes, and we're communicating with what those are. And the towns are pretty good at, the town association
Yep.
is pretty good at getting you informed on some of that legislation that they get before I do as well.
Right.
So, and when you get that stuff, let me know, what do we need? Because we have the attorneys at the state that can interpret the law for you, and they've been phenomenal. But if you use your legislator, you get it like that.
Right.
If you need resolve for DNR issues, when you use your legislator, I've been really pleased with the DNR, but I hear everything, the only thing I hear about the DNR is bad. But then when I work with them, it's been 100%, it's been fantastic when we're all sitting at the same table, the DOT. I was in Hills Corners today with a constituent concern about the new Highway 100 reconstruction. And so some of the constituents came and we sat there and had a round table. Most of it was local issues, so it's out of my, but to be able to communicate with the DOT sitting there gave so much light to the village of Hills Corners that they were able to come up with solutions that they didn't know existed. And they're pretty darn good. I mean, this is their baby. They've been doing this for a long time. But having those agents there from the state, it can be a real benefit.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
guys.
for talking.
Thank
There's no more legislators here. All right. Service awards, there are none this year.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to just highlight that? Just there's a couple. County Supervisor Darlene Johnson, especially the opioid.
Go ahead and read it.
County Supervisor Steve Whittle called. He's at a meeting. He couldn't make it because of the weather. And County Supervisor Darlene Johnson, there's a report on the back window there. She's giving you some information on how she's working on the Fox River Bridge, how that's going to be reconstructed. Not reconstructed, just an overlay. She also has some pretty significant information on the heroin opium epidemic. There's going to be a meeting on Tuesday, May 1st, 2018, that she's been instrumental in collating a lot of good people to represent this issue. So that's on the back wall. And then there's some other information in regards to the intersection of ES and Edgewood Avenue that she's diligently working on. But she sends her the information here and is sad that she couldn't make it, but I just want to let you know it's all on the back window. All right? Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Item 8, a presentation award from the Village of Waterford to the Vernon Fire Department.
I'm not sure where the best camera angle is for me to be. Direct me here to the
Chief, I don't think there's a good enough camera angle.
Chief, do you want to come up and,
Alex also. I don't know where the best place to stand here is.
You want to
That's
grab the mic, Chief? Other chief? One of the chiefs?
Okay, why don't you guys face your board here? Well, you're on this side too.
I can try.
This seemed like the best idea right here, but I'm already short enough. If I sit down, nobody will see me.
You want to split that.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rick Mueller. I'm the fire chief in Waterford, Wisconsin. And this is on. Okay, and I'm here tonight. I brought 4 things with me. I brought, first of all, a lot of admiration that I want to share with you. I brought a plaque to recognize the administration and the workers, the members of the Vernon Fire Department. I brought you a check, which is probably the thing you're going to like the best. And I brought with me one of our most precious resources, or most valuable resources, which is one of our personnel. And his name is Captain Reed Johnson, and he's kind of a leader in our paramedic program, which is why we're here tonight. Okay? So I'd like to start off by saying, 4 years ago, I inherited a fire department that was struggling, especially on the EMS side. Okay, we're a part-time volunteer organization, and in some cases, our EMS service was sicker than our patients. So one of my first jobs as a fire chief was to make it better, right? So as I reached out to different fire departments to say, hey, what can we do together, save costs, provide a better service to our citizens, I ran into more than one that the word me kept coming up. Many fire departments had a lot of concerns, and they all had to do with me. Not only me, but them. right? When I knocked on Alex's door, the conversation switched to service. How can we provide better service? And I knew I was in the right place. So then we sat down, we had some more conversations about that. And in that process, we were able to develop a partnership where we could work under Vernon's paramedic license to start in a small community like mine. We're about the same size communities, Waterford and Vernon. And I'm sure, although I wasn't part of your collaboration when you brought the paramedic program here, it's not an easy thing to do, okay? And so the concern and the political will to do that is admirable to start out with, being able to give our customers and our patients the highest level of care we can. And in fact, what we do today, if you're not aware of it, we literally can do everything that you can do in an emergency room, especially for cardiac care in the back of our ambulances. And as I said earlier, you know, ambulances don't deliver service, fire trucks don't deliver service. This delivers service, right? So with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to work with your administrative staff from your fire department. I want to share with you a couple brief stories about what that has meant. I'm going to turn the mic over to Reed, who is running our paramedic program, to have him share his perspective, and I'll get on with the presentation, okay? So I'm going to go, just last week, we had 2 back-to-back calls in Waterford, and part of our paramedic agreement is if we have a younger paramedic that's working by themselves, we call Vernon and they bring down an intercept and they help our young paramedic. So when we have an inexperienced paramedic that has a lot of room for error, you know, we're carrying over 50 drugs in our ambulances now. And so to figure out how they all work together and what the patient's already taking, you know, it's a pretty high-level decision-making process that has lots of room for error. So when you're a brand new paramedic, which we're a young organization, and you have a year under your belt and you're treating somebody, we have the opportunity to call them, and they send down an experienced paramedic like they are, and they look over their shoulder as a mentor and say, I agree with your treatment plan, or I don't, and we eliminate the error process by working as Alex likes to say, there's a reason they call it paramedics. Okay, 2 of them. And for a small place, that's hard to do. It's hard to get 2 paramedics in one place on one shift. That's not something that happens every day, even in a career organization, much less a volunteer or part-time. So last week we had a call, and we asked for the Vernon paramedics to come down, and they came down and we ended up transporting a patient to the hospital, and the Vernon paramedic intercept went with them. On our way back to our station, we got another call, and it was another cardiac care issue. While we're there taking care of that patient, Alex calls me on the phone and says, hey, I'm only, you know, half a mile away. Do you want me to come? I didn't even get a chance to call him yet. Okay? And I said, yeah, absolutely. We could use you here. The guy's complaining of chest pain, and Alex shows up on the scene. The guy is talking to us just like I'm talking to you right now. They do their paramagic. They do in the back of the ambulance. And about halfway to the hospital at this time, the patient clones. Okay, so I want you to picture this. In my little community, we have 2 ambulances. I've got one with a Vernon paramedic on it going to one hospital. We've got another patient going to another hospital, and this one codes in the back. So I have 2 paramedics on each unit to help the patient, right? So they perform the necessary and life-saving procedures that we have in the back of the ambulance by skillful, trained people, and they bring them back. And in fact, I was in the back of that second ambulance, and so was Alex, and we're the chiefs of the fire department. So when we talk about 100,000, you know, feet, and we talk about, you know, 10,000 feet, we're at ground level, all right? We're chiefs, but we deliver service with our hands. We're working chiefs, right? And so I want to share that success story with you, not only from the fact of service to our customers, but to our working relationship, because we look forward to doing the same. We have staff, you backstaff your station occasionally, and we're starting to share resources. In fact, when I introduce Reed to you, he will be working for the Vernon Fire Department and the Waterford Fire Department to try to keep our numbers up when we just, again, heard conversation about how hard it is to get jobs that pay people $20 and $30 an hour, and we're not paying those kind of wages. And in fact, many times, many hours, people on our fire stations are there for free, okay? So I want to share that story with you. This is a success story. This is a success story because we're dealing with professional people that believe in service to the community, And I mean that not just from the people with the boots on the ground, but from the political establishment that backs those decisions. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to start out. Okay, for second of all, I'd like to introduce Reed and let him talk a little bit about the paramedic program and what it's meant to him to be able to increase our ability.
Thank you. Chairman, supervisors, residents, thank you for letting us be here today. Just kind of to give you some context to understand this, there's different levels of care within EMS, the emergency medical services. So when people begin their career in EMS, they take a singular class to become an EMT, an emergency medical technician. That's a 4-credit-hour class, lasts 1 semester. Waterford, prior to our partnership with Vernon, was an advanced EMT, which is a second class, a 3-credit-hour class. So you're looking at someone who is an advanced EMT, has about 400 to 500 hours of education in emergency medicine. A paramedic is a year-long course. It's over 40 credit hours. And that's when we were talking about someone who is not just a technician, who is just, if you see this, do this. You're talking about someone who is trained, truly trained in medicine, in the medical practice. So while working at Waterford as an advanced EMT, even though my education level was that of a paramedic, that limited what I was able to do for my patients. And there was many frustrated calls where there is a treatment or a medication that I knew a patient needed, but because of the level of care of our ambulance service, I couldn't give. And because Vernon has been, that your fire department's been so willing to share with us, that's not a problem anymore. And now the residents of the village of Waterford are getting the care they deserve. And about almost a third of our EMS calls are paramedic level calls. So that's 1/3 of all of our calls this year are going to get the appropriate care that they deserve because of your fire department's hard work. So thank you very much.
You're kind of stuck behind us. Do you want to just move over there while we finish?
No, I'm
You're okay?
I'm just fine.
Okay. All right. All right. So with that, the second thing I brought was a plaque that I'd like to present tonight. So the plaque is says Vernon Fire Department Chief Alex Belly and Assistant Chief Pat Hayes. It says, "Thank you for your leadership and every act of integrity, compassion, courage, and sacrifice that enriched, empowered, and encouraged others to emulate your example." So with that, and while I gave that plaque to the administration, the equal amount of admiration goes to the people that come in that service vehicle that help us when we call for help to help our paramedics. And some of them are sitting in this room, so you guys stand up so I give you guys a quick round of applause. All right, so the third thing I brought here tonight is a check for $75,000.
Sorry.
Okay, we're done. Why'd you waste so much time talking? So in our partnership, as it has grown, in our fire department, we experienced some unfortunate circumstances in some of our fleet. Our fleet was an aging fleet, and it was starting to break down. So there was a point where both of my fire engines were broken down and out of service. I had no way to deliver water to anybody in the village of Waterford that had a fire. So in the paramedic program, we carry water, but it's in little bags that we give IVs to people, and obviously that's not going to work. So I called Alex. I said, "Alex, I'm in a bind." And he talked to your town administration and got the green light and said, "We've got a reserve engine. We'd be happy to share with you." So that came up and picked it up that day. I mean, it was ready for me in like 2 hours. I came down and I picked it up. I brought it down to Waterford. We spent the next 3 days, pretty much every minute of the waking hour, training our people to pump it and drive it so they could deliver service in it. And then we extended the conversation, and Alex and the town of Vernon here got a brand new fire engine, and now they had 3. So I said, maybe there was a place that we could share the cost of that engine with you rather than us have to go out and pay $500,000 for a new one. So we did the partnership agreement here, we looked at the value, and in that process, with the blessing of your town leadership, we came to an agreement on what the value of that engine was worth, and we're sharing it now. So the check for $75,000 is half of the value of that engine. We use it in our village, it's in the front line service right now. If a call comes in, that will go, where it would have just been sitting in a backup role or a reserve role in Vernon. And now you're getting some benefit financially, and again, we're getting the benefit of having an engine in our village without having to spend $500,000. Partnerships like this is what I think villages should be doing, providing service. You know, I think one of the greatest things a community does is protect its citizens. And that's what we're charged with doing, and we do that the best we can with the dollars and cents that we have available to do it. And this is one way of doing that at a less expense by sharing resources. So we share a paramedic resource, now we even share a fire engine. And I hope one day we can even extend that to having all of us even at a higher level working together, closer level. So who should I give the check?
I'll take it.
I'm gonna give that to the town. Share right here. Great, thank you. Well, thank you very much.
I'm going to hand this off here to the treasurer.
I'd be less than truthful if I didn't tell you how grateful I was for this opportunity and to be able to work with these fine gentlemen as well as the people in the back of the room. So thank all of you. Thank you very much for your help. Okay?
Thanks, Chief. You're not gonna touch the light? No. I'll be here all night.
I was just going to say, don't give Alex a mic.
No, we're good.
All right. I just want to say thanks to the village of Waterford that it isn't often that we get to see results firsthand from decisions that the board makes, and the people of the town don't ever really see the inside workings of what we do here. But this was a challenge for you, and we talked about it, and you know, we thought it would work. We deliberated on it, and it's worked out. It's worked out for the best for both communities, and I just want to say thanks.
Thank you.
All right, town residents' concerns. Number 9. So, it was brought to our attention last, I don't know, Bill, I think you brought that up, about the brush pickup with the snow. I just wanted to bring that up here because this is the town's concern. It has snowed a lot in the middle of April. And I know on my land, I've got branches from the wind that are poking up through the snow, and I don't know what's underneath that snow till it melts out there. And our brush pickup is supposed to start the beginning of May. I think that may be something that we may want to think about and push back a little bit farther. Also, I've got concerns about spreading this ML ash borer with collecting that stuff and chopping it. And I've also got concerns about cost, and do we need to do that twice a year? And I've also got concerns about people not just clearing the brush, they're clearing their land. Because it was supposed to start out with just brush pickup. You know, and so, I don't know, you guys want to weigh in on it? Do the citizens want to weigh in on it?
I was impressed when I saw the cost. John, our DPW director, put a nice paper together for us showing what the lease of, well, no, that's later on. The brush pickup itself the hours that are put in, the vehicles that are used, the gas that's consumed, it came to a pretty high number compared to what I thought it was gonna be. So it's been discussed, how do we cover that cost? Is that something that we reduce the service? Do we add a charge? There's all sorts of questions that need to be answered with that. But I don't think we can continue running those kind of costs for 10% of the people of the town and let the other 90% pay for it. To me, that just doesn't seem right. So I'll be bringing some discussions forward to the board on ways to correct that. And I'm sure it'll give some people some ire, but it's also gonna give a little relief to the other people paying for brush pickup they don't use. So it's an ongoing process, and it will be determined before the next budget, I assume.
No, I'm definitely in favor of delaying brush pickup. Right now, when it's cold, they're supposed to be crack filling the roads, and I don't want to see that put off, pick up brush, and all of a sudden it's too warm, you can't get the crack filling done. So I like to see at least pushed off 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff and Ed. By the time we get a chance to pick up this brush, who knows how long the snow is going to be covering up a lot of it. So we need to probably push it off. And that wouldn't be a problem. The people are attuned to putting the brush out there. If it sits there an extra couple of weeks, it isn't going to matter much. But we definitely need to get the crack filling started. That's a priority, because our roads are in dire need of a lot of...
Well, it's important.
Pardon?
It's important to do the crack down, because that's where the water starts seeping down in.
Yep.
And that's where the problems start.
Yeah. And as far as discontinuing the brush pickup, well, I'm kind of not totally in favor of a total stopping of that program. But Ed's got some ideas about how to cut the cost or reduce the amount of time that our guys spend on. I'd be willing to listen to it, you know. I know it's a sore point with a lot of people. We need to look at the figures again.
Yeah, I think last year when we discussed this, the DPW came up with a number kind of unbelievable. I believe each pickup session, fall, spring, is 3 solid weeks of man hours, and that's all 4 of our guys out there picking up the brush, mulching it, delivering the mulch, and we haven't even addressed the liability issue. If someone goes off the end of a culvert, damages a culvert, that's easily $1,500, $2,000 right there. Fortunately, we haven't run into that yet, but there's liability there that just hasn't caught up with us yet. So, as Ed was saying, we're finding that there's a very small percentage, somewhere between 10 and 15% of the residents who make use of the service, yet all of the residents are paying for the service. So I think too, we need to take a special look at it. We've gotten to the point where DPW now says, okay, we'll spend, I think it's 15 minutes per property, and whatever's left after 15 minutes, they'll leave it. But there have been more and more abuses every year where it's almost like other friends and relatives are bringing brush to the site. So it's getting harder to keep up with, and like I say, there are liability issues. The whole town's paying the cost for, let's say, a select few to use it. And I know last year, for example, we had a sizable maple tree snap, some of the largest limbs snapped off. And I had a small brush pile out, which DPW picked up. And I rounded up my grandkids, and we made 2 huge trailer trips to our site back here. So we could easily make a site available at the town 24/7, but let's say 5 days a week, where people could bring in brush, unlimited brush, on their own vehicles. Or let's not compete with the private nurseries. Let a nursery come if someone can't get their stuff over there. We had a lot of talk with the town of Waukesha on different issues in the last 6 months. And the town of Waukesha who has extremely low tax rate. They do no brush pickup, no mulching, and no delivery. You bring all your brush to the town hall, it's a designated spot, you dump it there, and they have a contract with their disposal company who will then pick that stuff up and get rid of it. So it's a very simple method. I don't think anyone with an acre and a half lot should have that much brush. You can't throw it on a small trailer and get rid of it. And then if you want to burn it, we've got a lot of large parcels where someone can get their permit and burn all they want. So I do think we've got to take a look at that expense. It's getting more and more as our wages go up, our benefits go up. And as I say, we were given numbers last year, 3 solid man-hour weeks spring and 3 solid man-hour weeks fall, just for brush pickup, mulching, and delivery. So I think it's got to be best.
You guys want to touch on the burning permit? I think we should.
Yeah.
I heard some grousing about it.
Not enough calls, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I think, Alex, you want to step up to the microphone and
We can throw rocks
tell,
at you.
tell
Well, let's not
tell
start
it-
that game.
tell it how it came about.
Yeah. We've also received a fair amount of calls. Like I said, we got a low estimate on the issue. At the end of the day, I think most citizens, after they talk with us, understand the concept of why we did the burn permit, and they appreciate it. The idea originated from the fire department that the current system, or the past system that we had, really was not effective. On a typical weekend, a nice weekend when people are out doing yard work, we were inundated with phone calls. The phone is literally ringing off the hook. We take down a name and a number, make sure they understood the expectations for the burning ordinance. 99.9% of the time, the response was, I'm very familiar with the ordinance, I understand everything, and we'll call you if we need you. During our time after we split the fire department, and even before that, we had very little issues or very little concern with how our citizens conduct themselves with open burning. People are usually very responsible, they take the precautions, they look at the expectations for the weather usually, and we do get an occasional call for a complaint of someone burning something. Although typically those complaints would originate by someone calling either 911 or the non-emergency number for the fire department. If there's no one available, or it went to a voicemail, then we would get it. So typically we get paid out by the dispatch center to go investigate a burning complaint. They'd send the sheriff's department, and then we go and look at it, and typically talk with the resident, resolve the issue, and everyone would have a good day. So the goal was to eliminate that problem of having people call basically for a phone call that really didn't amount to a whole lot of anything. Because if someone else complained, when they called the dispatch center, they have no idea of knowing who did and did not have a burning permit. So that was the thought process. To be honest with you, we did copy the majority of the burning permit concept and philosophy from the town of Waukesha, where they issue one once a year. What I like about it is the fact that our citizens understand by signing the permit that the expectations are on a copy of that sheet. So if they ever have a question, they can look right at the sheet and know that, all right, if the wind's blowing 22 miles an hour today, it's not a good day to burn. So hopefully that helps educate our residents. And to be honest with you, it was a way to reward them, our citizens, of not having to call every time they wanted to do something. It was a convenience on both sides of the fence. So I think that it will end up being a very good program. And I think that if we do have issues with it, we have the flexibility to come back to the board and to reevaluate how we're doing or conducting business. And we'll either improve it or we'll change it to meet our needs. That was how it was reciprocated.
And the people have to understand that the fire department has talked about doing something for them on this burning issue for a couple of years now.
Yes.
And finally, you brought it to us again, and we thought, okay, let's act on it. So, now, I haven't heard anything about the burning, but I heard about the $10.
Oh, certainly.
You try to understand this. I'm gonna try to explain this again. The fire department is life safety issues. They're not bookkeepers.
Right.
Okay. You have to deal with life safety. The clerk's office is the keeper of the books and the keeper of the records. So that costs money for that. So I had people call me and say, well, I'm not gonna get a permit. I said, well, that's fine. If we have to come out to your house because you're burning, you burn your barn down or you burn your house down, I said, your insurance company isn't gonna look too kindly when you say you didn't have a permit for $10. Well, I'm just not gonna pay it. I said, well, part of that $10 fee goes if we have to issue a citation, $200 for not having a permit, you don't pay it. Okay, then we have to start legal stuff against you. Now, we've got money from these burning permits to hire an attorney to take care of these issues for us. Hopefully, we won't have to do that. You never know. Some people just don't do rules very well.
There's something called accountability.
Any supervisors want to weigh in on it?
Well, I didn't have a problem with the chief coming in and asking that. I thought it would make the system a whole lot easier in order to operate. The $10 fee is basically an administrative cost that for the people in the office to process the application. They don't work for free. They have to get paid. They take time out of their schedule. Karen sets the schedule up. If they come in through the office, somebody has to take the application.
And record maintenance.
And record maintenance, yeah. So, but the $10 fee I thought was a reasonable amount, considering there's other communities that are charging more. And if I'm not right, Franklin itself charges $15 for a burning pit, don't they, Pat?
Everybody's
I
gonna.
can't, to be honest with you, I don't know.
Yeah, I
would
looked that up.
think they did go up to
Franklin's
15.
$15, so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of communities are charging a fee, you know, and it's not an exorbitant fee, and it's good for the whole year, you know, so I didn't have a problem with it. I paid my fee, because I'm gonna be burning, and I didn't wanna call up on a Saturday and try and get somebody at the fire department. This makes it easy. I just follow the rules on the permit and go out and do it.
And I think the important thing to remember is that the expectations are on that permit. So no one can use the excuse,
They don't know.
I didn't know, I wasn't aware, I disregarded it, whatever, because it's in black and white. And again, that was meant to be a resource for our citizens. And that was our goal when we approached the board to say, here's what our conceptual idea was. And hopefully it'll be a good product.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we beat that one to death.
Yep.
Maybe with the 20% of the people that, I'm gonna throw this one out here, I bet you I get phone calls tomorrow.
You know what, it's also a great way to educate them.
20% of the people that have, used the brush pickup, maybe we should have a fee for brush pickup. Maybe that would cut it down. And just throwing that one out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are all considerations down the road here.
Yeah?
You're leaving town tomorrow?
What's your telephone number again?
It's on there, it's on there. We're still in citizens' concerns. Anything from the citizens? Jay, wanna come up front, please?
Well, it's been a while since I've been up here because I've been in work. I'm working about 40 or 50 hours a week, and I am in school part-time now. But anyway, well, I wasn't here to say this last year, but I'd just like to say, I think all of you know that I work for Advanced Disposal. And I would like to say that you have a lot of happy people in the town here ever since we switched over to them. Our guys say that it is a nice area to pick up in. And ever since we made the switch over to that county, I believe, doesn't that bring in like maybe $15,000 to $20,000 extra a year to the town for revenue? You know, that is a plus, because, you know, we're bringing in over $20,000. And I will say to all you board members, you have some happy people in the town here because they have the option of the up the drive service. And I've done the up the drives in the town here, and there's a lot of people with long driveways. The only thing that could be a pain with that up the drive service is the hills in the wintertime. Like on a day like today, you know, a lot of those steep driveways that go straight up, you know, with a pitch, and if there's precipitation, it's like, in a case like that with me, and I've done it a lot on municipal contracts, you know, the thing is, the pitch is if it's snow covered, don't even bother taking the truck up there because we can't be sliding and having our equipment and the people's property in harm's way or whatever. And so I think it was really for the good ever since we switched over. But at least to say, it's that time of the year again, and I know a lot of you know that I'm a member of the safety committee. I don't know how to emphasize to our people how important it is to have a weather radio in the house. I have one right here. This one's mine, and when it goes off, it's one of those tones you recognize right away. But how about this, you know, like if I emphasize for people in the town that have one, how about the people emphasize to their parents, you know, how important it is, even if they live outside the town, you know, at least they'll know that they're safe if bad weather's coming in. You know, if you don't have a weather radio, your iPhone, like at night, especially when I'm sleeping, I keep mine, you know, that's when I charge my cell phone. And, you know, that's a great way to get warnings in too, because it makes that tone, it makes that eerie tone, just like on TV when we were kids, you know, when they did a test or whatever. And when Burlington and East Troy had that flooding, this thing went off loud and clear right beside my bed. So if I could say this to our people, really work on learning how to get weather warnings without relying on outdoor sirens. I sure would like to say I think our fire department is doing an absolutely wonderful job here in the town. And didn't we get like a higher rating or whatever? How do you say that? Higher rating?
Yeah.
Well, that's...
Lower means better.
Yeah,
ISO.
okay, that's
Yeah.
it. That's the